In today's report, will your next dual cab 4x4 ute be the new BYD Shark plug-in hybrid? Mine certainly might be. At least I'm considering it right now. Burning your driveway, my driveway, whatever, has never seemed like a better idea, at least to me. I'm going to tell you why next. I'm Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, new cars cheap, but Australia only website. Card! If you've been dead from the neck up, perhaps like a cabinet minister or car company PR executive, you might not have heard that Chinese car maker Burn Your Driveway is going to deploy the Shark, a dual cab ute, here in our post-convict paradise, and that's going to happen later this year. It's a plug-in hybrid, even more interestingly enough, with four-wheel drive, and it offers 320 kilowatts. The Shark has already been spotted on Melbourne roads, all camoed up ahead of its official deployment here later this year. And not in that endless prick tease, Kia Tasman, Village People yellow camo either. What do I really think of that? The Shark was seen ensconced appropriately in proper toxic masculinity compatible camo for customers just like you and me, who don't particularly want to stay at the YMCA or otherwise gad about the place wearing women's clothing, except, in a very limited range of circumstances. On flat knacker, the Shark is said to be able to sprint to 100 k's an hour from stopped in 5.7 seconds. That's according to senior Burn Your Driveway executives. That's pretty damn quick, I'd suggest. In fact, see you later, Ranger, Hilux, PT50, D-Max, Navara, Triton, and probably also Village People Tasman in your yellow King camo. The Shark offers an 850 keg payload together with 282 millimetres of ground clearance and 2.5 tonnes of tow capacity. And I'd argue across that spectrum from good to bad, that's abjectly not shit on balance. The Shark could be the first real man's plug-in hybrid 4x4 ute in Australia. Now, as Peter Garrett once so ominously foreshadowed, sunburned, faces around with skin so brown, smiling, zinc cream and crowd, Sundays at the beach, never a cloud, breathing eucalypt, pushing panel vans, stuffing munch junk food, laughing at the truth, flat chat, Pine Gap in every home, a big back, and no one goes out back. That's that. The Shark could be that kind of real man's hybrid, I'd argue. If you had a tofu burger and an almond milk and piccolo latte for lunch, with your fucking hair in a bun, wearing your skinny jeans and watching Gilmore Girls on the latest rose gold iPhone, you just might not want one. Dude. Burn Your Driveway could easily, therefore, put the first plug-in hybrid on the bank of Dingo Piss Creek. And as your next Prime Minister, I will declare that day a day of national celebration with live crosses to the faces of the bogans camped there in their Hiluxes and Troopies. Imagine that. A proud, trousers-optional public holiday, like, if they do. Just remember the SPF 50 plus, dude, otherwise nasty burns. Electric cars don't save the planet, can't save the planet, won't save the planet. If you want to take effective climate action today, the place to start is by divorcing yourself from the nation's biggest CO2 emitter, which would be coal. And the way to do that is with rooftop solar. AutoExpert.com.au/solar for more on that. I've got a simple, complete, easy solution there with no obligation whatsoever. Perhaps you've already got the panels on the roof. Now, if so, you could just add a battery and harvest the electricity that you get during the day and then consume it at night, be sort of independent of the grid. And compared with an EV, it's a small, relatively affordable battery. A heat pump's not a bad idea either. Hot water is also an excellent energy storage medium for excess solar energy harvested from your array. Now, Unlike an EV, which depreciates kind of fast and costs a bomb to buy and insure, an integrated rooftop solar system is affordable and it adds value to your house, it slashes your electricity bill, and it insulates you from inevitable future power bill increases. If you configure your system right, you'll even get power failure protection, which is going to be increasingly important in the future as grid stability management gets even worse. autoexpert.com.au/solar for more on that. The Burn Your Driveway Shark dual cab ute is somewhat like my third ex-wife. It has a minimum of 2 personalities, at least that I could tell. Personality 1 is fairly benign. It's the one which presents itself after a good night's sleep, having been plugged in all night. The Shark is kind of meek and mild. It's relaxed. Butter wouldn't melt in its freaking mouth. It'll run, according to the driveway burners, about 100 Ks on its 30 kilowatt hour battery, but probably more like 70 Ks in the real world. Just look at it this way, okay? You could take the battery in a morbidly obese EV like a Kia EV9 Drive Car of the Year, or a fake Swedish Chinese Polestar 4. They're 100 kilowatt hour batteries apiece, which is a disgrace to the concept of efficiency, frankly, like an insult. Those expensive, very limited and hard to acquire materials could be deployed far more efficiently, I'd argue, to make the batteries for 3.5 driveway burning Sharks, all of which will drive cleanly in EV mode around town every day and also not suffer any of the extreme compromises associated with EV operations in the regions. And this is why plug-in hybrids make so much sense here in Australia. Like, if you remember to plug them in, that's kind of important. In the real world, the Shark's probably going around 70 Ks on its battery in EV mode. In other words, average daily commutes easy in EV mode to the office, the stash house, gun shop, gentleman's club, therapeutic massage, various cash collection points around town, and then maybe, I don't know, church, whatever. Preferably in that order, in case you die. In EV mode, no problem, like turning without burning throughout all of that for average daily commutes in Shitsville. Personality 2 is the regional tourer and also the girl who can't say no in the mud, which is very entertaining indeed, potentially. You can drive long distances in your driveway burning Shark without enduring all of that soul-destroying special ops recharge planning associated with using a pure battery EV in regional Australia. Just run it on hydrocarbons beyond the big smoke, dude, and only plug it in out there when and if totally convenient. So with a tank of nature's finest 2,2,4-trimethyl pentane on board, or some, rough equivalent, a selection of appropriate isomers, the range is claimed at 850 Ks. So that'll help it get to Dingo Piss Creek before the universe ends, unlike if you try such a thing in an EV. Well, the powertrain is a 1.5 litre inline petrol Ford driving the electrical system, which is a 170 kilowatt front motor making 310 newton meters and a 150 kilowatt rear motor with 340 newton meters. So that's 320 kilowatts in total and 650 newton meters if those two can be directly added, which they might not be able to be added in that way because they might occur at slightly different points. Anyway, it's in that ballpark, and frankly, it's not too shabby. And by not too shabby, I mean much more peak power and a little more torque than a Ford Ranger Wildtrak V6 diesel. So that's something to think about, isn't it? So I think this is essentially the driveway burner's way of saying a big fat convivial fuck you to Ford and every Japanese ute maker, plus those criminals at Volkswagen and Village People Tasman and the yellow freaking camo you rode in on. They're saying we've arrived. Sucked in. So that's going to be interesting to watch, as will the reaction from the Bogans with their entrenched attraction to the Ranger and the Hilux and how they justify that, sitting there on the bank of Dingo Piss Creek, stroking their nicotine-stained beards and wearing their stupid black hats with the crocodile teeth. I'll be interested to read those comments, certainly. Perhaps it's actually the driveways of those people BYD is referring to burning with its otherwise meaningless initialism that I just made up. The driveways of all currently popular utes are set to be immolated, perhaps. The Shark could be a real winner, in other words. The ute you might buy to avoid the opprobrium of those insufferable lefty vegan twats next door, and at the same time, which also takes a great steaming dump on a V6 diesel Ranger when you need your ute to overtake a B-double uphill. And because electric motors make maximum torque at 0 RPM, there's your low-range style of performance. And I put that to the test last year in the Outlander plug-in hybrid with Mitsubishi over in the Flinders Ranges, and it proved itself to be unbelievably good in that gnarly sort of terrain requiring tractive effort at low speed with the wheels up and down on broken ground everywhere. I'll put a link to that video in the description and also up there if I don't get any more senile in the meantime. The Shark is a big sucker too. It's 5.457 millimeters long, which is 87 millimeters longer than a Ranger. It's also wider and taller, kind of in between a Ranger and an F-150, but closer to a Ranger. And it's heavier than a Ranger also, quite a bit. A V6 diesel Wildtrak is 2388 kilos in curb weight. And the Shark is 2665. So what's the difference there? About 270 or something, a bit over a quarter of a tonne in our money. And that's mostly down to the battery, obviously. And another quirky factoid about the Shark, independent front and rear suspension. All the mainstream utes have independent fronts, right? Independent rear is the sort of novelty value here. Navara has that too with the high-end models. And their independent suspension tends to be better on-road and unladen or lightly loaded, but a little compromised off-road or maxed out or when towing really heavy. So that might be a salient factor in the decision whether to buy this vehicle or not in particular cases, depending on what you need it for. The Shark was launched recently to the drug cartels in Mexico, which is an interesting choice for a first deployment. Early indications based on approved cartel pricing are that it's going to hit Shitsville shores significantly cheaper than the upcoming Ranger plug-in hybrid, which is going to nudge 90 grand probably. The Shark could be $20,000 cheaper. And it's hardly as if the Ranger is going to be some beacon of long-term reliability or A-grade customer support. I mean, it's got the stupid blue oval badge on the front, hasn't it? But it is riding a wave of bogan popularity, and that's kind of important. They sell a shit ton of them. The tow capacity of the Shark is 2.5 tonnes. That doesn't really confront me, frankly. I think it's somewhat disrespectful to Isaac Newton to tow more than 2.5 tonnes with any of our mainstream utes, mainly because, you know, physics. The payload is 850 kilos, which is a little less than some competitors. Also not a real issue for most ute owners, including potentially me, but something to be aware of. It's a zero-sum game. I mean, the battery does take away from some of the potential payload. So, on balance, this means a relatively high-performance plug-in hybrid dual-cab 4x4 ute for about the same price as the diesel 4-cylinder ute you were currently fantasizing about, and potentially so much cheaper to run. So I'm seriously thinking about taking a punt on this vehicle, ditching my 4 or 5 year old Triton and trying the first plug-in hybrid ute in Australia. And no, this is not sponsored, not bought. I've never even had any contact with anyone on the driveway burning PR team. In fact, like pro tip, if one did want to cop some backhander from the driveway burners, one would, I don't know, typically refrain from calling them anything like that. Now, before you walk around for the rest of the year with some sort of anticipatory shark-shaped teepee in your trousers, which is not a medical emergency, as is only a metaphoric teepee, there are a few unknowns, and they are kind of serious, so let us not commit at this early stage of our relationship. Reliability and support, especially support out there in the gaffer, completely unknown. Resale value, completely unknown. Could easily tank, which is not a reference to GWM. How well set up is this vehicle going to be for Australia? Unknown. Suspension and shearing and steering. Click go the steers, boys. Click, click, click. The suspension and steering could easily be shit, I'd suggest. The build quality, totally unknown. That could also be shit. How annoying is it going to be from the viewpoint of safety assistance technology like ADAS? The implementation of that is all over the shop currently, so unknown. How well does it crash? Unknown. Could be great on paper, but a real dog with fleas in the flesh, and the fleas might have monkeypox. Only time is going to tell. I don't even know if fleas get monkeypox. There's potentially a hint in the name of the pox, I suppose, on that one, but I don't really know. But the mighty driveway burning shark could also be a conventional ute smasher, couldn't it? Set to invert the dual cab status quo before planting a Chinese flag square at the Golden Billabong near the tidal confluence of Dingo Piss Creek and whatever that ocean is up there. Which, if you're not from around here, that place is essentially Shitsville's Mecca. It's deeply significant. It's ingrained in our culture. The great Andrew St. Pierre White is the Governor-General way out there. I do wonder if he's going to ditch his hairdresser's troopy and burn his own driveway and jump in bed with a shark. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Anyway, the shark's on the way. The details yet to be forthcoming. We'll just have to wait and see.